All right, looks like we are ready to start the match. So we'll see what we've got here. Got a pretty good hand for Mlobo here. Got 3 mana sources, but no green. It doesn't really matter though. Preordained should help him find some green mana.
Yeah. Also a pretty good hand for Pauper MTG. He has a guaranteed turn 4 Tron with colored mana. Might be even better.
Yeah, it is, but I suspect that's going to be a little too slow against Mlobo's deck. I think really they need to have a turn 3 Maul Splicer, otherwise it's going to be pretty rough sailing.
Right. I would guess. I would guess this match was probably at least game one. I think M level probably wins like close to 90%.
Yeah, that would be my estimate as well. Really, any deck has about 10 to 15% chance of just completely failing, and I'm not even sure that it's that high, but just completely falling over itself, and then the other deck just runs it over. But man, it's got to spend a lot of time stumbling.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I think if Pauper MTG had 4 Ulamog's Crusher, that actually just flips it to like he might even be favored.
Oh, I would definitely favored. There's only are these Arcane Denials the only are these the only counter spells in the deck?
Just, he
Or
has one
split it?
counter, so he has 5. He has 5 hard counters to
Five hard counters.
stop 4 Ulamogs, and yeah, that's not even going to work because I mean, Tron will just bring him back with like the whatever the card that brings cards out of graveyards.
Yeah, actually, they don't have. Doesn't look like they have any of that stuff. They don't have pulses or any of the lands that bring stuff back either. So it looks like Mlobo found green mana, so I think he's gonna be okay. My guess would be he's gonna put both of those on top. For sure, the pieces. I know that he loves card advantage, so there's no way he's bottoming that pieces of the puzzle. I think you probably keep the fog too, but that might not be necessary. Might be looking for lands or ramp instead.
Yeah, I think once you get to high enough mana, you can just kind of chain through your deck really quickly. So I
Yeah,
think just getting mana and card draw probably will end up equaling more fogs.
I agree, and definitely needs to hit a few more land drops. You really want to get to, I don't know, probably 7 mana in this deck. You don't really want to miss any before then, but you can miss one as long as you hit the next couple. But that's not always the easiest thing to pull off. So, um, Pauper MTG's developing their board nicely. They're gonna have Tron right away. It looks like they just kind of drew all the Tron pieces they needed.
Yeah,
Not that it matters. Like they're gonna be putting out 4 power on turn 3 and another 4 power on turn 4, which leads to about a turn 6 kill. But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if that's good enough. I really don't think it will. Looks like he left both on top. I didn't quite see in the game log if that was for sure what they did, but looks like, or if that's for sure what Mlobo did, but it looks like that's what he did. Kept the fog and the pieces of the puzzle.
yeah. My experience with blue green Tron, the version with a lot of ramp and flickering fogs, looks like he looks like
Sounds
he
like sounds like he bottomed one of them and then he got Moto shufflered into the other one, so that's pretty classic. I always joke about that on my YouTube videos. Like whenever I cast Ponder, I always make sure that the top card is the one I want to draw the most, just in case when I shuffle it, it doesn't really shuffle. And it happens more than you'd think. So
Yeah, I
uh,
feel like that happens way too often too, and I guess maybe it's just some sort of bias, but hard to
yeah, it
say.
could be. They in the past it's been bugged, so I'm not sure if it's bugged right now, but it has definitely been bugged in the past. All right, so Pauper MTG on the top there, got their RX herd down. Going to be attacking for 4 this turn, and then 9 next turn, or 10 next turn. Yeah, 10 next turn. So got him on a reasonably fast clock. Mlobo is probably looking for some more ramp spells. He hasn't found any yet, and that's really what he wants at this point in the game, since he doesn't want to be fogging every turn. He really
Right.
doesn't want to necessarily use his pieces of the puzzle. He's gonna have to discard, but I think he's okay with that. He's got some extra lands probably that he wouldn't mind discarding.
Do you crack map on upkeep?
Um, Probably. I don't think you want to draw another Tron land. We'll see if they see that. Looks like they didn't, but
It might be
Ancient Stirrings isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So
yes, my experience playing with the blue green Tron, like the version with Flicker and a bunch of just try to chain fogs, is that I think the aggro deck really needs kind of like a turn 4 kill, and even then that's not frequently good enough. Like even if they have the turn 4 kill, I frequently have a fog on turn 4 to stop that, and then from that point, they basically can't win. So assuming like this Emblem Boat's fogless kind of works similarly, I think you really need a really fast clock to basically be able to beat it. And I don't think that the green Tron kind of has that fast of a clock.
Yeah, what you really need to be able to do is when they tap out for Kodama's Reach, you need to at least, if you can't produce lethal that turn, which is not always possible, especially if you're on the draw, because that's turn 3, you really need to be producing lethal the next turn. Otherwise, you're just too far behind. And you can see it here. He's going to be able to rampant growth here. He doesn't even have to respect anything. Like, he doesn't have to respect these fogs.
I think he's gonna he should Arcane Denial his own rampant growth. Oh, or maybe he rampant grows. Okay.
No, I bet he Arcane Denials his own like Moments piece or something later in the game.
Okay.
He's gonna have so many. We'll see exactly what happens with that Arcane Denial. That is true though. The rampant growth might have been better off getting Arcane Denial next turn.
Yeah, it's not like he needs. I mean, Enlovo knows Pauper MTG's deck list, so there's nothing for him to worry about. He just needs to start fogging every turn from, I guess, next turn onwards.
Right. He might not have to every turn if he gets them with Tangle. He might not be able to produce enough threats on the turn that he tangles to produce lethal the next turn. For example, a Self-Assembler plus an Aurochs Herd is not enough. We'll see if they play around Tangle. Hopefully they do. Make for a little more interesting game.
Right.
Instead of just a massacre. But I don't know. I kind of expected a massacre, so it is what it is.
And if only Pauper MTG had Ulamog's Crushers. That just flips the matchup by itself.
Yeah, it's a really big deal if Emblem has to hold up Arcane Denial every turn for the rest of this game. It's just so huge. And then suddenly one turn they might be able to cast 2 of them, and then
yeah.
Then where is he? He's dead.
Yeah. So what do you think about Fog in the current metagame?
Oh, Fog's good in every metagame. It's bad. I guess it has been bad in the past. Delver isn't as big as it used to be, so we've got Stompy and Affinity more commonly played in leagues than Delver right now. And Fog is just Fog is just heinously bad against Delver, so it makes sense for Fog to be good right now. It's so good against Stompy. So I think Fog is a really good place to be at this point. It looks like you found this Moments piece, and that's a lot of turns.
Yep.
Is this one getting Arcane Denied? Yeah. That's what I figured would happen eventually. It was sooner than I expected, though. All right, so I'm expecting a Tangle this turn if they attack with everything. If they don't, probably the Flashback Moments piece. It's hard to say, though. I'll have to discard unless he casts a card from his hand, I think.
Right.
No, not quite. Never mind. He'll just be to 8 cards, so he can do whatever.
What would you estimate are the matchup percentages of Fog against the various decks?
This Fog list,
but yeah, Fog in general, but also this deck list.
Yeah, so this is definitely the Turbo Fog deck that I have the most experience with. I haven't played it a ton, but I would say against Affinity, it's really close. Probably 50-50. You always have to hold up a counterspell for Fling. Normally game 1 is pretty easy, especially a lot of these decks are playing more Temur Battle Rages, which are obviously horrible. And so you always have to hold up the counterspell. It gets a lot tougher post-board. And actually what I end up running into a lot of the times is that it's really tough to not time out because I have to hold up like 5 or 6 mana every turn for the whole game because I need to hold up like double Hydroblast plus plus like another counter, just in case they've got Fling, double Pyroblast. You really need to have a lot of counter spells up. Against Stompy, it's so easy to beat Stompy with this deck. It's probably 80-20. They can sometimes kill you turn 4, but they can barely do that. So, what about the other decks? Delver, it's like terrible. So you just lose to Delver.
I don't think I can lose to. It's probably like an 80-20 or like a even better against Fog. Yeah, I actually don't like the switch to Temur Battle Rage for Affinity because like I think even against like blue-black control decks, having to, the turn that you need to kind of like have the ATOG live, I think it's a big deal. Whereas if you had just Fling, that's just like that's an instant speed kill. So I see a list that have like 3 Temur Battle Rages instead of like 0 Flings, and I don't know. I really like Fling in Affinity.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't feel like normally the games I lose to Affinity are games where like I could have blocked and Fling wouldn't have killed me. Like normally Fling is for like 20 damage, so it doesn't feel like I really want that Temur Battle Rage. So looking at this match, we've got Umlobo drawing all kinds of cards. He stayed at enough life total that he can play this. He can flashback at least 1 Deep Analysis. He's got a bunch of fogs. Pulse Marasa means that he actually doesn't have to fog this turn. He can go up to 12. And they're only Pauper MTG is only attacking for 8. So this is what I was talking about, that Tangle. Tangle is basically going to be like a double fog here, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Right, so I expect that's what he's going to do, just to get that extra value. That's what I would do. Yeah, looks like that's the case.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, Umlobo is not close to running out of fogs, but still could be safe, I think.
Right. You have to be a little careful if he casts what's it called? If he casts Pieces of the Puzzle, he has to make sure that he takes his pulse if he mills his Scrounger, but it's not that big of a deal. It's pretty easy to play around that.
Right. I've watched Umlobo's streams, and I'm pretty sure that he'll make sure to do that. I think he thinks like 50 steps ahead. When I watch him play. So,
yeah, it's actually not quite as hard necessarily when you play these kinds of decks, because, or at least when I play them, I just think about which cards matter, and so few cards matter in the whole game that like you're always really tuned in to the ones that matter. So like you're looking at your opponent's creatures and you're like, none of these matter, don't care about any of this stuff. And then you're thinking about your own deck and you're like, I've got a Scrounger and a Pulse that matter, and none of my other cards really matter either. And it's especially true with Teachings, but it's true with this deck too, where almost none of the cards matter. You got to make sure that you protect the ones that do. So looks like we're going to see some discarding here from Umlobo. He's going to have like 9 cards in hand or some ridiculous number.
Yep.
I would say this deck probably discards more than any other deck I've ever played. You discard on turns 2 and 3 and 4 just all the time because you're just drawing so many extra cards.
Yeah, I think fogs are really cool in that they're kind of, one just blanks. Like, for example, one fog from Umlobo is blanking all 8 of Pauper MTG's creatures, I guess, for 1 turn. But
right.
There's just like, I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like a weird type of card advantage where you're just like, for example, against Stompy or against Pauper MTG, you're just like playing. You don't have to. You can let them have however many creatures they want, but as long as you have 1 card, they're just like all of it is blank.
Yeah, it's kind of like having a bunch of time walks because none of their cards matter at all anyway. So it doesn't matter that they're taking extra. It doesn't matter that they're taking extra turns themselves. Like none of their cards matter. All that matters is that you still have enough time walks to keep time walking every turn.
Yeah, it looks like Pauper MTG drew his own Moment's Peace.
See, Pauper MTG drew their own time walk, but it's a lot worse. So,
what do you think about Mono Greentron? Or I guess kind of like the green red, like the one splashing for Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, I don't like the this mono green Tron that Pauper MTG is playing, just because I would really want to see at least Rolling Thunder out of here. Rolling Thunder is just, you always have to respect it, and when, especially since we have known deck lists, and Lobo doesn't have to respect Rolling Thunder at all, and it would be a lot harder for him to win this game if he had to hold up an Arcane Denial every turn for the whole game. But since he doesn't, it's not a big deal. But I don't think that the mono green Tron decks are as good as any of the blue based ones. I mean, just playing a fatty every turn is just not that impressive compared to like teachings for Forbidden Alchemy, and then get like 7 creatures all in one turn or in 2 turns. You know, like you can fill up your whole hand with a Muldrifter into a Muldrifter into a Teachings, and suddenly you've got 5 cards from 0. And this deck just can't do that.
Is the matchup that lopsided? Like, what would you say is like a green red Tron versus Teachings percentage?
I don't. It's so hard for me to say because I know that I beat Tron decks all the time with Teachings, but I also know that a lot of the people who are playing the Teachings or the Tron decks are making a lot of misplays. So if someone knew the matchup really well, I would say that Tron is pretty significantly favored. Not this mono green version. This mono green version is definitely not. It's not crazy. It's probably like 60-40, or maybe between 60-40 and 70-30 would be my estimate for like a Rug or Dinrova Tron versus a Teachings deck. This green deck is, I would say the Teachings has the advantage against these green decks because you just like exclude one of their creatures and then suddenly they don't have any more, or like you can just Chainer's Edict all these guys away. It's not a big deal.
You're not worried about like them, pulsing and then using their land to get back more of the creatures?
Well, I mean, they get there eventually, but you can Crypt Incursion them, you can Bojuka Bog them, you can just, I don't know, like, you can exclude one, and then you're up a card, and then you exclude another one, you're up another card, and then maybe they get it back, and maybe you counter, like, it's tough. The ones that play Crusher are definitely a better matchup, because you can just let Crusher resolve. Same with Dinrova Horror. Dinrova Horror is not important to counter most of the time, unless it's really early. It's got to be really early for it to matter. Like if they cast it on turn 3 or 4 and they hit one of your Aqueducts, then you're in bad shape. But if they wait a little longer, then you can just let it resolve and you can Edict it away, and it's fine. I don't know. It's a tough matchup. It's close. It's really pilot dependent. Like I've had a lot of players counter spells that are not important, so it's hard to say for me.
Yeah, Teachings is a strange deck to play with and play against.
Yeah, for sure. I have almost no experience playing against it. I have a ton of experience playing with it, of course, but playing against it, no one else plays it really. I don't see it very much.
I think in the back of my mind, I have like very little respect for it, so I always get so angry when I do lose to it. I just always feel like Teachings needs a lot of things to go right for wait, what just happened? Oh, Pauper.
Nothing. They're just spewing off their moment's piece.
Yeah, I just think that I don't know, like frequently Teachings. I mean, this is probably not true, but I just in the back of my mind, I just always think that Teachings needs a lot of things to go right in order to win, and so I'm just tilted off whenever they do win.
Well, you play a lot of decks that are good against Teachings, so they do need a lot to go right. Like Delver is kind of the worst matchup for Teachings, which is why Teachings has trouble in most metagames, because Delver is almost always one of the most popular decks. And you also play Tron, so Tron is pretty good against Teachings as well. So you do need a lot to go right to beat those types of decks, but like I've been beating Affinity a lot lately, which I think used to be a really bad matchup. But like any of the mid-range stuff, Teachings just has such a good matchup against those decks like Kuldotha Boros, and I don't know, any deck with black in it, it's like terrible against Teachings. So when those decks are popular, Teachings is just one of the best decks you can bring.
It looks like Mlobo probably, we can say he has the game locked up at this point.
I agree. He had it locked up a lot of turns ago, but it wasn't technically locked up until this very second. Like he could have accidentally discarded his Scrounger or something.
Right.
We are at the point though where he's just gonna be able to fog every turn, and since he doesn't have to worry about anything, sometimes when you're playing this deck, you have to be really careful to make sure that you don't make sure that you have enough counter spells and stuff in your hand at all times so that you can counter anything they do. But Unlebo knows that he doesn't have to counter anything, so he can just with Scrounger put 3 fogs back, draw 3 fogs, put 3 fogs back, draw 3 fogs. So this game's over.
Right. He's probably gonna get his like Mind Sculpt at some point. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
he piles that allow him to kill quicker.
he could do that. It's not really necessary, but it is more efficient as far as like viewers are concerned. So hopefully it gives us that.
Do you think Emlobo had his viewers in mind when he decided to play this fog deck?
Well, he never used to have Mind Sculpt in it, so he's got to be thinking a little bit about all the people watching.
You know, he goes up to 4 post board, so that's
Yeah, and that got him a win against the other Tron deck. He just milled them out too fast, even with their crushers. Didn't matter. I think it was Math Guy, right? Math Guy's crushers just didn't matter for one game because Unlobo drew every mill card in his deck, but but it didn't work in the third game, so the crusher just got there in the end.
Yeah, crushers are so good against fog.
Yeah, they are, and that's really the only thing you have to worry about most of the time when you play Mlobo's list. You have to worry about Crusher and you have to worry about Bojuka Bog, which most of the Denrova horror lists are playing Bojuka Bog. So that's a pretty brutal one. It's so hard to beat. You can maybe beat it early in the game, but like if they had a Bojuka Bog right now, it'd be incredibly difficult to beat. Actually, I think you could still beat it because he's got enough cards left in his library, but you have to be pretty careful to make sure that you don't get too low.
Just curious, I can't tell. Is the Changeling being pumped by the Oriox herd?
I think the Aurochs herds are pumping themselves would be my guess. All right, so Mlobo is the champion of this game. So that makes sense. He was about to draw the last cards of his deck, and he was guaranteed to have enough fogs to win. So Pauper MTG has had enough.
Yeah, so post board, Pauper MTG has, I guess, he has a hope, I guess, which is that if you can get Relic of Progenitus into play early enough, and I don't know, maybe Emla both sides out, Tomb Scours and Mind Sculpts, maybe Pauper MTG can win.
Yeah, so this deck actually, in the past, actually couldn't beat a turn 1 Relic. And right now it doesn't look like Mlobo has anything that can beat it either. So if they go like turn 1 Relic, especially if they go turn 2 Relic afterwards, you can probably concede right there. So the reason is that even if that Mind Sculpt is safe kind of the whole time, the Scrounger loop needs to happen. And once Mlobo gets down to a couple cards left in his library, they can just nuke the whole graveyard and you won't have enough cards to get to 7 anymore, because Scrounger only works if you have thresholds. You need 7 cards in your graveyard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's one thing you have to worry about. That's why Bojuka Bog is so strong against them, because you need to get 7 cards in your graveyard, and sometimes you can't even do it. Like if you have too many lands in the bottom and they nuke your graveyard with 10 cards left, if you just can't get 7 cards into your graveyard, you can't do it. So that's pretty brutal sometimes.
I think maybe then. What do you think about like signing out all the counters just for all the mill and just try to race?
So I think that was his plan for Tron decks, but at the same time, that was his plan for Ulamog's Crusher Tron decks. So I don't know if that's going to be his plan. Even if they don't, man, if they don't have, the only cards that matter are Relic. So honestly, if I were them, I would mulligan into Relic, and I would not, even though this hand has turn 3 Tron, I would probably not keep this hand, because they can't even cast the Aurochs Herd, right?
It doesn't even have turn 2
Oh,
Tron.
never mind. They only have 2 Tron pieces. Yeah, I don't like this at all.
But they already took a mulligan, so maybe just a functional hand is okay.
I guess so. Well, we'll see.
You think Mlobo will hold up
they're not going to draw them in the next like 1 or 2 draws. And he's going to get this Kadama's Reach out, and then after that, I think Arcane Denial will probably be held up for the whole game.
Actually, Pauper MTG has a pretty good start now, because he can go Tower, Crop Rotation, into Prism, into Aurochs Herd for a turn 3 Aurochs Herd.
Aren't they 1 mana short of that or not? Yeah, they only have 5 mana after playing the Prism.
How much does Herd cost?
Aurochs Herd costs 6.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's pretty brutal. It's 6 mana 4/4 is not a very good card.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the regular Tron decks don't play these cards. Another Aurochs Herd is also just a terrible draw, of course, because they're already going to get those Aurochs Herds for free.
Right. I think most, basically, except for Relics.
Yeah, almost all their draws are terrible anyway, so. So if they hit a Relic off this Prophetic Prism, they'll be in really good shape. They'll have 1 more draw to draw 1 after that when this Kadama's Reach gets played next turn. Oh, they drew. This is probably actually the best card to draw. Another Self-Assembler to get a clock on.
Yep.
And then next turn, they really want to draw the Relic. So that was number 1 card, best possible draw. Number 2 card will be a Relic right here.
Yeah, and Umlobo doesn't have a Fog yet. Not that he needs it immediately, but like Pauper MTG could be beating down pretty hard pretty soon.
Yeah, that's true. He'll have like 5 looks at his first Fog, but he'll need to get 2 or 3 more. So, well, I mean, he's gonna have to get like 10 more. He's gonna have to get a lot more in a row. But I think he'll get there with the Fogs probably before they can finish him off. And that wasn't a Relic, so
it's a changeling. It also looked like Umlobo sided in his mill package.
Yeah, at least some of it. But he also didn't board out the Arcane Denial, so I wonder what he got rid of to get that Tome Scour into the deck.
So he could cut. There's 2 dispels that he can definitely cut. He probably cuts Counterspell. It's actually really funny that Arcane Denial is actually kind of better than Counterspell in this deck, because usually like Arcane Denial seems like a card with like a huge amount of downside, but Umlobo uses it to draw cards so aggressively that I think it might actually be better. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I agree, and it's easier to cast. Like you can cast it off a bounce land, which is really important, and drawing yourself 1 card and your opponent 2 cards is just basically better, since Pauper MTG only has 2 cards in the whole deck that matter. So he's not going to counter anything besides a Relic. So unless that 1 extra card, like unless they draw another Relic off those card draws, it just doesn't really matter. So Tome Scour, so he doesn't have to discard. Did he hit a Relic? Doesn't look like it.
I think he just Tome Scoured to save on mana. He didn't have a discard there.
Oh, I guess I miscounted. So, yeah, just to get that out of his hand. That's also a decent, that's good knowledge to know whether or not they have a Relic, how many Relics they've left in their deck. So he already knows that, if he had hit one of them, he would know they only have 1 left, and those are the only cards that really matter anymore.
Right. Well, assuming Umlobo can keep on hitting Fogs, which at this point, he looks fairly certain to do that.
Right. But it also doesn't matter what Pauper MTG draws anymore. Like, it matters a little bit what Umlobo draws, but Pauper MTG draws don't really matter anymore. So, you think he's going to Arcane Denial here? On his period in? Yeah, it kind of looks... Oh, no, he's not.
I think Arcane Denial should just be saved for, to draw 3s. I wouldn't waste Arcane Denial for as a target for Arcane Denial.
Sure. I would have almost saved that Tome Scour since he didn't have to discard before, just so he could Arcane Denial it later.
Oh yeah, that's a good play. I think he should. Well, he might. Well,
looks like he's not doing it this turn.
Yeah, this Tome Scour is probably gonna let Arcane Denial draw 3.
Okay.
No, let's just do it on AK.
That's not a bad play because the Arcane Denial not the Arcane Denial, the Accumulated Knowledge only draws 1 card right there, so that's a pretty decent play. I might have done it to the Tome Scour, but that's still a nice play.
Right.
And obviously the Tome Scour Arcane Denial line is still available next turn if he really wants it.
It's also kind of nice that the card draw happens at the opponent's turn, so he doesn't have to discard.
Right. Puts him to 8 cards, then he gets to fog here.
Oh, he said. I wonder how much mill he's boarded in. I mean,
I don't know, but
we've seen 2 Tomb Scouts and 1 Mind Sculpt already.
Yeah, so if we've seen everything he's boarded in, it would just be for the dispels. But my guess is that seems unlikely. He's probably boarded in a little more. I wonder if he took out like the deep analysis. It's a little slow. I know he loves that card though, so I'd be a little surprised if he took that out.
I also love deep analysis. I think it's like the best card. It's I think a lot of people sideboard Pyroblast to try to beat control. I think they should just side in deep analysis. That card is like way better against control than Pyroblast, I think.
Yeah. I always wonder, like, burn decks will bring in Pyroblast against teachings, which if they've got it, they should. But honestly, it's basically just another burn spell most of the time. Like,
yeah,
it's countering a counter spell that's countering a burn spell. So it might as well be a burn spell.
Yeah.
Just not that impressive most of the time.
And it's also kind of reactive. So, many times against decks that have inevitability with burn, you just want to clock them. If your hand is just clogged with Pyroblasts, that's like you're giving your opponent turns to draw out of, to draw extra counter spells and stuff like that. So yep. I mean, I don't necessarily even like Pyroblasts and burn.
Right.
It's good against Delver, which is I think having the ability to counter spell stutters, but also to use it as removal against Delvers and Ninjas. I think that's really big. That's like where I really like Pyroblasts. But otherwise, I like things like deep analysis against control decks a lot more.
So does Umlobo have a Moment's Peace in the graveyard? Because if he doesn't, this game is over.
Oh, wow, really?
He bricked on Fogs. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, God. I thought this game was over.
Nope. Well, it is over, but the other way.
That was... Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just went off on a huge tangent because I just assumed that...
You just assumed you would keep finding Fogs, but he missed one that turn, and that was it. I wonder if he boarded out some Fogs for...
Oh, that can't be right.
For those mill spells.
Yeah, I feel like that cannot possibly be right.
I don't really know. I know I personally would not board out anything besides the dispels for the mill spells, and I might not even board out the dispels because hitting a crop rotation with a dispel is a huge game. So looks like they're going to get a turn 1 relic down, and we'll see. This is actually going to be a really cool game to see how Umlobo navigates around this relic. It is very hard to beat relic with this deck, but at the same time, with his mill package, he can still beat it because he can actually, they can still run out of cards before him, even though he's drawing extras.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a tight race, I think, on both sides. And Umlobo's going to be pressured on 2 different axes. He's going to need Fogs, but he's also going to need cards to try to race.
Yep.
I think it's okay to lead with Star here, but I mean, I would have led with Relic for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The Star is just not that important. Like, you can crop rotation away your forest next turn if you really want the green mana. It's probably not going to matter too much just because he's not going to be able to counter it for a couple turns anyway. But at the same time, it'd be nice to get all these cards out of his graveyard. Like, they could have taken both those cards out now, but if they play the Relic this turn, they can't anymore.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes for them. So they've got that really bad shapeshifter in their hand that is going to be really hard to cast because it's not going to be easy for them to get double green. But they got a long time to do it because they can just cast these self-assemblers, which are just basically strictly better versions. So they played the land first. I think I might have cracked the Star first.
Well, it
shouldn't matter too much.
Yeah, he needs to sack a land for a crop rotation anyways, so
yeah,
it's not.
I don't think it'll matter anyway, but that's just what I would rather do. So what do you play here? Do you play the Relic and the Star, or a Relic and a Sphere? I think that would be my play.
Yeah, I definitely should try to... Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm playing the Relic for sure.
Relic for sure, yes.
Yeah, I don't mind this play either. Like, crop rotate for another Tron piece, and then hopefully they play the Relic plus a Sphere here.
Yeah. I hope they don't crack Relic, because that's
To draw a card, get
yeah,
closer to
be,
that third land.
yeah, that would be kind of tragic.
Yeah, that would be just a horrible play.
But maybe Enlobo cited out a bunch of fogs. I mean, I still don't see one.
Right.
I mean, he hasn't drawn a lot, but
Yep, and these AKs are. We're about to see why I like Think Twice over AK in Teachings decks. It probably won't matter here to Unlobo. Like he's not going to care. Like he's not going to care about them removing one card every turn. But when I play Teachings, if I play like a Think Twice and they kill it with their relic, I get really annoyed.
yeah, I also like Think Twice in Angler Delver. For the same reasons. Also, it takes up less space. Like with AK, you kind of want. Ooh, nice. All right, Pauper MTG's hand is looking pretty good. He's going to be able to land a Maul Splicer.
Right, and this is kind of the play that I was talking about in the pregame, where they can get 7 power out on turn 3. They can actually race this deck.
Yeah, plus the Relic applying pressure. This is looking pretty good for Pauper MTG. Wow, a real game. To be honest, I wasn't super optimistic about that, but this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
It's
gonna be tough for him, Lovebo. Like he's gonna have to play both AKs this turn probably, just to make sure that he gets the second card off of the second one.
Right, his hand isn't great.
Now his hand is terrible. It's terrible so far, and another land isn't great either. But it could turn around really quickly. Like this deep analysis is an awesome draw, and if he draws like a moment's piece or something, it's going to be in pretty good shape. He won't be in great shape. Like he's still on a pretty serious clock from this relic, but he's not in the worst spot ever.
And you might not be able to flashback deep analysis because Pauper MTG is going to be putting Mlobo to 1 in 2 turns.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Actually, so another great draw.
Yeah, I thought it was a tower for a second, which would have been like he'd been dead next turn.
Right, because he could have put 8 more power on the board this turn.
Yeah.
Instead, it's only 4 more. So we're gonna see 7 and then 11. So he's gonna go to 2. Right? Is that my count? Yeah, that looks right. So still not going to be able to flashback this deep analysis, but he's going to get to play this sphere. Do you crack the sphere right away?
I think I would. For 1 turn. Like what could he even play with the green?
If you hit like an Ancient Stirrings into a relic or hit a relic, it's so good to play it right now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But it does make it really hard to cast your Changeling. I guess they decided not to play it at all, which I don't think is right, but it probably won't really matter. My guess would be that that's not going to matter over the course of this game. Like spending 1 more mana next turn is probably not going to matter too much, but still.
And Lobo's. Oh, okay, right. He still has 1 more turn. Right, I was really worried.
Yeah, he's not dead. So it looks like he found a Fog and an AK. It's probably what he's going to take. I can't imagine taking anything different out of that pile.
Yep. So at some point, it might. I mean, no. Like I was going to say, knowing Mlobo's hand, it might be correct to crack Relic in response to AK. But I mean, Pauper MTG can't possibly know that Mlobo's hand.
Just all blanks. Yeah. Yeah, I would be expecting at least 1 or 2. I'd probably expect a card draw spell and a fog, like 2, like in addition to what he has. So like I would expect at least 2 fogs, plus probably another card draw spell, or at least a counter spell of some kind, like some kind of spell that matters.
Right.
Of course, he has 5 lands in hand, and he discarded a land that turn, I think.
Yeah, Pauper MTG drew the tower 1 turn too late. That would have probably won him the game.
Yeah, almost for sure. I mean, forcing Mlobo to hold up Fog this turn would have been... Well, could he even have drawn a Fog this turn? He drew that off of the pieces, right? So...
Yeah, he would have needed to flashback deep analysis, and I don't know if Fog... It doesn't look like Fog was one of the top 2, so...
Yeah, you never know how MTGO orders stuff. It just
Oh.
puts stuff randomly. Like when you play Thought Scour, the Thought Scour goes into your graveyard between the 2 cards that you put in there. Like it's just obviously the wrong order. So still got this relic working away. We'll see if they know enough that like so let's see if MLobo is able to chain a bunch of fogs together if they are willing to save this relic the whole time. So you should basically never crack this relic against this deck normally.
You didn't crack it.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. You should just basically never do it. Simply because if you ever crack it, they can continue to play the game. Whereas if you leave it, their scroungers are eventually going to run out of stuff. And they don't only have so many cards in their deck. And if you exile a card every turn for 20 turns, they're eventually going to die.
Yeah. So it looks like MLobo has found a few fogs at this point.
Yeah, he's got a couple.
And he's
I'm not really sure if they're going to... Yeah, I wonder if they'll try to hit this Moments piece that's in his graveyard.
Yeah, that probably... If he didn't hit the Arcane, so the Accumulated Knowledge, I don't think he would hit the Moments piece.
Yeah, I doubt that Pauper MTG will pop it just for a Moments piece either. So things are looking better for MLobo. He's got 3 fogs ready to go. Got another ramp spell. He's gonna have a lot of mana. What he really needs to find is probably like a Pulse of Marasa to turn on his. I don't know if he wants it, but it would turn on his Deep Analysis. So
Ooh.
I don't know if that might prompt a relic crack. I'm not really sure.
Oh, do you think MLobo might have cited out Pulses plus Scrounger?
That could be. And it looks like they found another relic, and MLobo didn't hold up blue mana this turn. So they know it's going to hit.
Yeah, this is still looking like a very, very close game.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow, and maybe, that actually sounds like a pretty sweet Sideboard plan.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet. So probably should play the Moments piece here and then hope that it works next turn. Yeah, then you're not totally dead to relics if you have all these mill cards in your deck. The problem is, though, that you have to take them off of your pieces of the puzzle. Like if you hit a card draw spell and a fog, and then you hit a mill spell, which is what happened on one of his previous pieces of the puzzle. If you mill too many of your mill spells, you're not going to be able to kill somebody at all. Like they'll have too many more cards than you. Against Tron, it's probably not that big of a deal. They take a lot of cards out of their deck. But against some other decks, that can be a real issue.
Looks like Pauper MTG cracked one of his relics. Which
Yeah, to get rid of
like
that Moments piece.
Yeah. And now MLobo's hand is really bad. If he misses one more turn, he's dead.
Yeah, I might have waited to see if... I don't know. That's a tough one. So you risk MLobo drawing an Accumulated Knowledge, but if you wait... You can, if you wait, you can, I don't know, maybe snag a Pulse or something.
Right. Either way, it's probably correct to crack it on end of MLobo's
At the end of MLobo's turn, yeah. Either on their own turn or before this, or like during this end step. Right. I agree. I think that was a good time to crack it. Especially with this mill plan. I don't know. It's so iffy. Like it's so much worse against the Scrounger plan, but it's way better against this mill plan. Maybe they've got the read. They've got the better read on the Sideboard plan than we did until like 10 seconds ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I kind of, I mean, this match probably didn't turn out that well, but I think because like if MLobo knows that there's going to be a lot of graveyard hate brought in, basically cutting out like the Scrounger is not going to be useful. So cutting that out, and then once you cut that out, you don't actually need the counter spells as much to protect, your one key card. And so you just board in a bunch of redundant mill spells, and then you only need like 20 turns to win.
Sure. This is the best possible draw from Lobo, the pieces of the puzzle, right off the top.
Yep.
See what he finds. Probably wants to find a fog and a draw spell. Looks like he drew only an AK.
One Accumulated Knowledge. Ooh. He is
We got one more turn, one more draw, I mean.
Yep.
And he draws the Moments piece. Wow.
Wow.
Just when I think this game is over. Of course, I thought it was over last game, but then the other person won.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly can't believe that this is going to be a match won by Mono Green Tron. Like, this matchup is so bad for them.
Yeah. I was gonna be guessing this matchup was like, at least 80-20 in Fog's favor, but maybe maybe Pauper MTG got really lucky, or maybe the matchup isn't actually that bad.
I think they got really lucky last game, and then this game played out how I might have expected it to when they have a turn one relic. But the real issue is, like, you don't always draw a turn one relic in multiple games. So, like, main board, really advantage towards Turbo Fog, and then sideboard, you expect to lose one game to a relic, but hopefully you don't lose 2 games to a relic. And Onlebo didn't lose 2 games to a relic, but he did lose 1 game when they didn't have a relic, which is really unacceptable, basically, for the deck.
Yes. Yeah, maybe maybe this Fog is still not quite a real deck.
It's not quite tier 1.
Not quite.
No, I don't think so. Even when I've played it, like, I think I've played it maybe 10 leagues total over the last, I don't know, year or two, which isn't a ton, but I would have expected to probably get at least 1-5-0 out of 10 leagues, and I've never gotten a 5-0 with this list. I've gotten a lot of 4-1s, but never a 5-0. So I don't know.
If Pauper MTG pulls the trigger, he wins.
Yep, we'll see if they do it. It's so risky.
Yeah, it's hard to not do that, though.
It's so risky. I know that I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't either. But then again, if you have a read that Enlevel boarded out his Scroungers, then Relic, he's gonna do it.
And he's got the concede button ready. Man.
Wow.
I wonder what Umlebo's next card was, because I would have never made that play there.
I would never made that play either.
They had the soul read.
Wow, it was a fog. That's insane.
It was a fog?
Yeah.
Well, he needed more than a fog. He needed like a bunch of them in a row, but still, that's crazy.
Wow. Congrats to Pauper MTG. That's
for sure. I think, are they 2-1 now? Did they win their...
Yeah, I think they beat Affinity.
They beat Affinity, right? Despite having no Finger Marauders, man. I know that I beat them last week, so for the quick humble brag. So they're 2-1.
Wow, doing well. Man, this Mono Green Tron really showed up.
It did, for sure. 2-1 is a quite respectable record. That's the same record that your deck has.
Yeah, Red Delver. My also tier. For how good it is, I think it's like still in the leagues and also the challenges. Even though it's pretty well represented in the challenges, but I still.
Yeah, it did a lot worse this time. Like, the people that played it, I don't know if they didn't play very well or what, but it didn't have a very good, even though it won, like, it didn't have a particularly good record overall, like,
I think
between all the copies.
Well, there's only 2 copies in the top 32. So.
Yeah, but there were a number of them, I think, that placed worse than that.
Okay, so, yeah, it's hard to tell without replays.
Right. So you do get replays if you play in it. So, like, people have done some scrubbing of it. I haven't really looked at it that closely, though. I don't play the challenges, unfortunately. Fortunately, I can't play them. So.
You should. I think yeah, that's unfortunate, because like I would love to see you bring like 100 card teachings in.
A couple extra cards. Bring a couple extra cards along. I think someone played a 70 or 80 card teaching deck and they made top 32 or top 16 like last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I think 103 card Grixis teachings was their list.
Yeah, that's a sweet one.
I was close to pulling the trigger, but I'm just not a teachings player. I don't have the patience to do that. So.
Yeah, you don't have the patience to Evan Carr's Justice out someone who's gained 30 or 40 life throughout the game.
Yeah, that's not my type of game.
That's not your cup of tea.
Yeah, so you should definitely keep in a challenge if you can.
For sure. So I think this round it's going to be Lovebo and I are commentating, and then who are we commentating for? Let's see. We've got Luru Guru and Math Guy. So Luru Guru I think is on Affinity, and Math Guy was playing. Was Math Guy on the Tron deck, or is Math Guy also on Affinity?
No, he's on the Tron deck. He's on
the Tron deck, the Generovatron. Okay. So
I want to ask you guys before you go on, what do you guys think about the mono green deck that Pauper MTG brought? I mean, I know you guys express you don't like they don't have the crushers, but what do you think about their particular design of the deck?
I think it's cute. I mean, yeah. It's kind of. I mean, the thing is like, I think even with the Aurochs sword and stuff like that, they could still counter it, and then you still can't fetch like the remaining copies. And then it's also a bit small for how much mana you're paying for it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. Like, the mono green decks are normally really good against Affinity, and this deck doesn't play main deck Fangor Marauder, so they're not that good against Affinity. They don't have a ton of life gain main deck. They have no way to recur anything from the graveyard, despite being a monocolored deck. And it doesn't have Rolling Thunder, which is like, if you know, like, if your opponent doesn't know that you don't have Rolling Thunder, it can still be fine. Like, they have to hold up the counter magic the whole game for it. But if in this, where we get deck lists, when your opponent knows that you don't have Rolling Thunder, it really gives them a ton of freedom to just tap out against you, and they don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I really like Rolling Thunder. I think it's like a one-sided Armageddon or like a win condition, and it's very reliable. In the Blue Green Tron list, I definitely like Rolling Thunder over Denroba Horror.
Right.
So, yeah. I guess you only need one win condition. Anyway.
Would you ever take the mono green deck into a Pauper challenge? Would you ever do it?
No.
I had to ask. I thought it'd be funny.
I'll play. I mean, I do like Tron, so I'll play Tron in the challenges.
Just not that version of Tron.
Yeah, not quite.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's that bad. I think the changelings are maybe unnecessary. Like, I'd rather have at least one crusher in there. I would probably replace both of them with one crusher and one Rolling Thunder. And then I actually think the list is not that bad. And then I would try to get at least one copy of what's it called? Haunted Fengraf. I try to get at least one of, like, when you have 4 copies of Crop Rotation and 4 copies of Expedition Map, and you don't have any lands in your deck that can get a spell, that I just hate that. And a lot of people do that, and that just drives me crazy. Like, I want at least one Haunted Fengraf that I can get, or something, anything that gets me a spell. Like, even a Bajuka Bog, like, is almost a spell.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
Versions of Rugtron have made top 8, so the deck is definitely pretty good.
Zin, can you reshare your screen, please?
Of course, last season I lost to Mono Green Tron as well. Shane cast.
Oh yeah, he
like a crusher, like 7 or 8 turns in a row.
Thank you, Zin. He never let you live that down too. To be fair,
it was like I countered a crusher, and then I killed a crusher, and then I countered a crusher, and then I killed a crusher, and then I died to a crusher. So it was really.
If anybody would like to see that match, they can, I believe, on the YouTube
page. Is that on the YouTube page?
Possibly in the pod. Yeah, I believe it is. All right, so before we go into the next match, I would also like to add that Shane is not here this week, as most of you may notice. You don't hear him. He is out of town, so our own Iceman is going to be filling in for him. That will be against Littlefield, and then Ice is going to commentate with me for the last match, which I believe is 420 Dragon against Mike. Is that right? That's what the last match is? Okay.
That's the match.
All right. So, well, I believe that we're trying to get the next match underway, which is going to be Lobo and Mike commentating that. Kung Fu, you always do a great job, man. I got to have you on commentary more. I see you enjoy it.
Awesome. Happy to do it.
I believe now, so Kung Fu is 2-1 because, as I said, Jen had to concede. So Jen is the only 0-3 in the tournament so far, and I believe that unfortunately brings ML Lobo to 1-2, but that brings Pauper MTG to 2-1.